on Tesla, guys, right? So we are, okay, so there's two things, right? If you're a trader, right, we are in a area that makes sense for a position, okay, I would say, right? We're at equal lengths. We're at the extremes here, right, between the equal length, the 1-to-1, all the way down to the 1.618 ratios. So these levels make sense. If you take a look at the indicators, we do have a 4-hour bullish divergence forming as well, right? We have the MACD potentially forming bullish divergence as well, right, with a crossover potentially with higher lows on the MACD. So this is a potential area that makes sense, okay? Now, if you're a trader, you could basically have orders in tranches, right, across 298, which you would have already got filled, 282, as well as maybe 255. Okay, so those are sort of your ideal buys, anywhere around that, right, with a stop loss underneath 239. So you're trying to put a stop loss underneath this last pivot here, right, underneath this 2 mark. So you have a stop loss at 239. Orders already tranched, right? You already have an order probably already filled. And now you're seeing whether or not this was the actual bottom and whether if we can reach that 520 target, okay? Right? So pretty good risk to reward scenario there, okay? Pretty good risk to reward. So you're risking here all the way up, right? 3.5 to 1 R&R, not too bad, not too bad, okay? With 3 layered orders, so that's, you could possibly get up to a 9% gain of your entire account balance based on this trade. So pretty good structure there. Now, if you're a long-term investor, this doesn't really matter to you in terms of a stop loss, right? These areas are really good to sort of get your feet wet and start adding. But just so you know, guys, we are still in a downtrend, all right? We are still in a downtrend, right? We have lower high, lower high, lower high. And this could come to a situation where this becomes an AMD situation, right? Where we can just keep going down, okay? Because what typically happens is that we are at an inflection point for a possible triple correction, guys, a triple correction. So we had a double correction, a WXY. We could have another failed impulse of an X wave and then another down wave here for a Z wave, guys, to finish off all of a correction. So instead of this being a WXY, now you have a WXYXZ, all right? So that's the final correction stage for an uptrend, all right? That could possibly happen. So that's why, guys, if you're a long-term investor, you can add on here and you can add on if we ever do come down to an X wave here, right? If you're a trader, that's why I say put a stop loss underneath certain levels because we could go lower, right? And you can raise your stop loss if you're a trader, right? If we start pumping out of this, if we start pumping out, you can raise your stop loss to the entry price, right? So it's a risk-free trade. That's how I would play Tesla at this point, okay? Now, there's a few things you want to keep a lookout for. XLY, right? The ETF for consumer discretionary, that's both Tesla and Amazon, right? We are at the extreme. We ticked the 1-to-1, so this is a bottom contender area, right? This is a bottom contender area. Of course, it can go deeper. Anywhere around these levels, it could still bounce, right? But we are in extreme areas that make sense, right? As I mentioned, it makes sense if you're a trader. It makes sense if you're an investor. I wouldn't be mad if you guys get into these sort of levels. If you look at the MAGs as well, the Magnificent 7 ETF, right? At extremes again as well, right? So everything is sort of lining up that this area makes sense. It makes sense. Now, if you're a little bit more conservative, like I am, guys, okay, I like to wait until we actually start uptrending again, rather than trying to catch a knife. So what does this mean? This means that instead of trying to buy within this range, right, I wait until we start making higher lows and higher highs, like this, okay? Now, I will start getting in on the dips of these higher lows and higher highs, rather than trying to catch a knife, because of course it can always still keep going down, right? Markets surprise us every single time, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until we start making an uptrend of higher highs, higher lows, because until then, guys, we are still in a downtrend. We need a break above 366, guys, for this downtrend to officially be over. Okay, this downtrend is pretty severe. We need to make higher highs and higher lows. Right now, it's lower highs and lower lows. Okay, still in a downtrend, guys. And this can turn into an AMD situation like I mentioned. So that's why, for me, again, if you're going into Tesla, make sure you have a stop loss if you're a trader. If you're an investor, doesn't really matter, right? If you want to be aggressive and try to take a chance, you can go in here at the box, right, at the buy box. But for me, I have other trades that I'm looking at that